Security Council voting in favor of holding a rare emergency session today to discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia voted against the motion, but were unable to use their veto powers due to a special resolution uniting for peace. Ukraine, meantime, agreeing to talks with Russia. It's happening at the Belarus border, despite that having been used as a staging ground for the Russians. Belarus may be getting ready to send in its own troops, we're hearing as well. Let's bring in International Security Chair at the University of Ottawa, Roland, to get some analysis. Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Let's take this one at a time. First and foremost, this meeting at the Belarus border, do you expect anything to come out of it, or is it all theater?
Well, I don't expect anything to come out of it immediately. The President Zelensky of Ukraine himself has said he doesn't expect much to come out of it. His position is that Russian troops should leave the country entirely. That is clearly not where Putin's mind is. However, it is good to set up a channel of communications, and I hope that those communications continue because we don't know what lies ahead.
In the meantime, reports that Belarus are sending their troops to join Russia, the third country into this dispute now. Does that mean we can expect escalation on the military front?
I think we're going to see escalation on the military front from Russia and perhaps from Belarus, no matter what, because Russia has not yet brought its full military deployment into the battle. However, Belarus, if it were to join the fight, it would just be another indication of how much Belarus has effectively become a puppet state of Russia, and that's precisely what Putin is trying to do to Ukraine itself, turn it into a puppet state.
Russian President Putin says he has put his nuclear forces on special alert. What does that tell you?
It is concerning. He has a habit of threatening, of making nuclear threats. He's done it a number of times in the past. Normally, I think that this could be written off as just rhetoric, but at a moment of heightened tensions, I think that we need to be very careful. The United States has responded by saying this is just Putin trying to escalate tensions, and they have not put their nuclear forces on higher alert. And there will be visible indications to U.S. and other countries' intelligence services of whether Russian nuclear forces are actually changing their posture or whether this is just rhetoric.
Meantime, in Russia, they're lining up at ATMs trying to get some cash because they're worried about the economic sanctions triggering cash shortages. Is that going to do anything, the sanctions at this point, as they, decide now the whole SWIFT aspect of cutting off the Russian banks?
Well, Russia and Putin have managed under increasing sanctions for many years now, but we've really never seen anything like the sanctions on Russia that are being imposed right now very vigorously by the friends of Ukraine, including Europe and Canada, the United States, and others. The longer this conflict goes on, the more pressure there will be at home on Vladimir Putin, not just because of the economic situation, but because if more Russian soldiers get killed, it'll be increasingly difficult for the Russian state to hide the extent of this conflict from their own people.
Ukraine's president wants the EU to grant Ukraine membership. Does it have to at this point? And what happens if it doesn't?
Oh, I think it's very unlikely, just like it's extremely unlikely and has been all along that Ukraine would be granted membership into NATO. I think that you got to give credit to President Zelensky is trying everything that he can. He would quite understandably want NATO forces to be fighting in Ukraine against Russia. That's a decision that NATO and starting with the United States made before, that U.S. troops and NATO troops, Canadian troops won't be on the ground fighting against Russia. That could escalate into a gigantic war much beyond Ukraine. Nevertheless, I understand why President Zelensky is asking for this.
We're in the opening chapters of this dispute, of what's happening. How will history judge the world not going in, NATO not going in, and doing economic sanctions and sending, we're sending equipment, protective equipment?
Well, it's hard to know how history will judge any of this. I think the most remarkable thing is the reaction of the West so far has been far beyond what it has done in the past. You see a country like Germany, which since its defeat in World War II has essentially had a kind of pacifist foreign policy, all of a sudden in one day decide that it's going to double its investment in the military, that it's going to send hundreds, if not thousands, of weapons to Ukraine. You see the EU deciding that it's going to spend an enormous amount of money on weapons for Ukraine. The EU, an organization that really has not thought about itself in terms of hard power. And most importantly, I think the understanding of what Russia, who Putin is, and what he's potentially trying to accomplish, not just in Ukraine, but maybe beyond Ukraine later, is something that everyone has woken up to.
Appreciate your analysis. Great insight. Thank you. Roland Paris, International Security Chair at the University of Ottawa. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.